to Big Three and Beyond. Hey, how you doing? What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Big Three and Beyond. Hopefully, everybody had a great Thanksgiving weekend. I had a great Thanksgiving weekend. Oh my God, so much football we had. Besides the turkey and being with family and friends, so much college football and so much NFL football. I mean, what a weekend, y'all. This is definitely one of the best times of the year. And I'm not just saying because it's holiday season, but I mean, football is definitely king here. You know, I'm in Houston, Texas. Texas, period. Football is the number one sport. But anyways, I'm hoping all of y'all are having a great Monday. It's a little chilly out there, nippy and all that. But at least I'm not up north, like New York, or up in like Washington State, or up in Canada or Alaska. We usually ain't got to deal with no snow and all them freezing temperatures and all that. But I like it. It's nice and cool out there. But anyways, so let's go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and hit our bullet points, and then obviously we're gonna go in depth with everything. So first of all, we're obviously going to talk about the disappointing loss for the Houston Texans yesterday against the Jags. We lost 24-21. It was a very close game. CJ Stroud had another solid game, and he didn't have no turnovers, so I'm definitely not going to put any blame on CJ Stroud. Basically, we almost won the game, but unfortunately, the Jags prevailed. So that's the first thing we're gonna talk about the Texans and Jags game yesterday. Obviously, if we would have won that game, we would have been in first place right now. Since we already beat the Jags in the third game of the season, we would have owned the tiebreaker, and basically we'd have the inside track. We'd be in the driver's seat for the AFC South division title. But since we lost now we split with Jaguars, and now we're 2 games out of the from the Jaguars, and now actually we're looking up at the Colts actually right now, because the Colts actually beat us earlier this year. Remember when they beat us at home at NRG? So we're sitting in third place right now. So anyways, that's the first thing we're going to talk about, the Texans and Jags. The next bullet point, obviously we're going to whip around the league. So if you didn't know, if you haven't looked at your ESPN today or whatever, but no surprise, Frank Reich from the Carolina Panthers did get fired today. And they went 1-10. Obviously, the one win they had was against the Houston Texans, unfortunately. But it is what it is. This is a results-driven business. So yeah, Frank Reich. So Frank Reich is fired from the Carolina Panthers. So it's crazy as he got fired from the Indianapolis Colts last year. Now he basically didn't even finish a year with the Panthers. That's crazy. You know, if you're not right on the number one pick, I mean, it's not all Bryce Young. I don't want to get too much with the Panthers situation, but if you don't have the offensive line, you don't have the weapons around your team, you're probably not going to win. If they had CJ Stroud over there at Carolina, they probably wouldn't be 6-5 like the Texans are right now. So, anyways, we're gonna whip around the league. We're gonna go over all the scores and all my takes on all the games. And then the last thing, obviously, is we're gonna talk college football. You know, like I said, there was a big college football weekend, and then I'm gonna give you my top 4, and obviously preview the big conference championships coming up this coming weekend. So, CJ Stroud, like I said, he had a solid game. He was 26 for 36. He had 304 yards with 2 touchdowns. He led rushing, which is not good. He had 6 carries for 47 yards, so he rushed for almost 50 yards, including 1 rushing touchdown. So that's not good. Usually you want Singletary or Dameon Pierce. Mainly Singletary, because he's been the main guy. He has rushed for over 100 yards the last couple weeks. Leading in receiving is Nico Collins. He had 7 receptions for 104 yards and 1 touchdown. And then obviously Tank Dell had the other touchdown but he only had 50 yards. Yeah, so like I said, the Texans lost with the Matt Amendola 58-yard field goal attempt that went doink off the uprights, off the crossbar. It went doink off the crossbar. So we would gone maybe another 6 inches or so. Maybe it would have bounced the other way when we would have tied up the game. So there's a lot of flack on D'Amico Ryan. There's a lot of about that call, whether they should have let Amendola even try attempting to kick it. For one, because he's never even made a 50-yard field goal before. You remember earlier in the game, I think it was right before halftime, they had him go for a 50-yarder, and he missed that one too. I think it went wide right. So, it was a 4th and 12, obviously, so it was like a really no-win situation. I mean, you're either going to have him kick this field goal, he's never even made that length of a kick, or you're going to go for the 4th and 12. Me personally, I would have put it in C.J. Stroud's hands. I like that percentage better, even though it's not a good percentage. But I'd rather see what Stroud can do, see if maybe he can chunk it down a quick through. You probably wouldn't go a quick pass down the field, going out or going way down the field, because you obviously had no timeouts. That was the other issue. The Texans had to burn two timeouts in that second half, so they were pretty much out of. At that point, they were out of timeouts. That was the other issue. But I would have had C.J. Stroud go for the 4th and 12. So, anyways, Trevor Lawrence had 28 for 38. He had a big 364-yard game. He played a really solid game. He had 1 touchdown. He did have that 1 interception with Derek Stingley picked him off. We did a good job on stopping the run. We limited Travis Etienne for 20 carries for 56 yards. And then receiving, it was 5 receptions for 89 yards. So we did pretty good as far as on the rushing defense. So let me go ahead and give you my 4 reasons why the Texans lost. Let me know if you agree or if you agree to disagree. So the big story yesterday after the game, I didn't really listen to a lot of sports talk after the game. I was at my friend's yesterday, but and obviously this morning the big talking point right now is the officiating. So I'm not one of these fans or sports personalities that will say, "Oh, the officiating was horrible. It's all because the officiating was terrible. That's what cost us the game." I'm not one of these that fan that is like just blames on the officiating, but I'm going to say this. There was more than a few calls that the refs was it was blatantly obvious on a few of these calls that went against the Houston Texans. Now, they made a bad call when they didn't call Jalen Petrie on the hold. That's whenever Stingley had to pick. So, Jaguars fans, I understand that was bad on the one call they missed, but obviously helped us out. But there was definitely a few calls that was blatantly obvious. One they could review. Let's go to Tank Dell. The Tank Dell one right there, the sideline catch where he did the little toe tap right there. That was a catch. Now I couldn't tell when I first saw it like in real speed because it happened so fast. But once they showed the replay with Tank Dell, catching it, you could see both feet touched inside that sideline. That was a catch. So that's one, for example. The other one that involves Tank Dell when we're on offense is that illegal shift. I didn't see a second person moving there right before they snapped the ball. I just saw one person moving. I didn't see 2 people moving on there. And so obviously that cost us a huge play to Tank Dell down the field. So that was very, very questionable. And then the other one that's very, very blatantly obvious that everybody's talking about is that holding call on Steven Nelson in the end zone on Calvin Ridley. That was blatantly, obviously not a holding call against Steven Nelson. That was not a holding call. That was a terrible call. Now, I think there was a hold, but it wasn't on Steven Nelson. It might have been on another Texans defensive back in the end zone. but they won. Them calling on the wrong player. Steven Nelson's like, what the fuck, man? I didn't hold this dude. So, anyways, the officiating was definitely a factor. So I'm gonna, like I said, I'm not that type to just blame it on officiating, but the officiating was terrible, horrific, horrible, absurd. What other adjectives you want to say? The officiating was bad, and I'm hoping it goes to the higher ups and they review some of these terrible calls that they made yesterday. There's a lot of Houston Texans fans are very upset. Like I said, I'm not going to blame it just on the officiating, but that was a factor. Next, number 2, the running game. We had no running game yesterday. What happened to our running game like the last 2 games? We had over 100 yards the last 2 games. Besides C.J. Stroud running for almost 50 yards, Devin Singletary had 6 carries for 18 yards. Dameon Pierce had 5 carries for 14 yards. So you're talking about averaging about 3 yards per carry. What's going on with that? Why can't we get our running game going? I don't understand that. These 2 weeks in a row, I know we've been struggling before these last 2 weeks, but all of a sudden we can't even run the ball. I mean, we definitely need to be able to run the ball to have a more balanced offense. I know we're more of a passing first offense, which is fine because we got some good weapons, and obviously what C.J. Stroud can do with that ball, even whenever he's under pressure. He can extend the plays, which I'm going to get into a little bit later. The other thing, which is part of number 2, is bad play calling. Bobby Slowick. We had a 3rd and 1, and we had a 4th and 1 in some crucial moments in this game. And you decided not to run the ball, not to give it to Singletary or Dameon Pierce. I mean, all you needed was 1 yard. And you wanted to slang the ball like 30 yards down the field. That's not the time to be aggressive like that. You need to go ahead. I even prefer even C.J. Stroud like faking it to Singletary and going and running it for the first down. But slanging the ball 30 yards down the field on a 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, yeah, I didn't think that made any sense at all. I'm sure a lot of y'all agree on that. The other thing was these both are going to be, 3 and 4 are going to be our lines. Our lines got beat up on both sides of the ball. I'll start with our passing defense. Our passing defense, we give up way too many explosive plays. I mean, I understand. We're missing Jimmy Ward. He's a key veteran piece that we really missing. We've been missing the last few weeks. We definitely need him back. Now, I understand might give up a big play or 2, but man, we've given up way too many explosive plays in this game yesterday. And then the other issue is we're not putting enough pressure on Trevor Lawrence. We're not giving enough pressure all. I think he only got knocked down like 1 time by Grenard. But yeah, he didn't even get sacked at all. And then our left tackle got hurt. I think before halftime, he was. You could see him sulking and crying on the sideline. Their left tackle, and we still couldn't put enough pressure on Trevor Lawrence. You gotta put more pressure on him. And he had a really solid game, very very solid. You give him the time, any adequate time on it with a good quarterback, they're gonna make you pay. And they definitely made us pay yesterday at NRG. The other, I would say, I think our linebackers, Blake Cashman. Come on, man. Shout out to Blake Cashman. Blake Cashman's been a freaking beast. I think Will Anderson had another solid game. He looked pretty good. I think he had a sack. Let me know if I'm wrong or if I'm right or wrong. I think he had another sack in the game yesterday. The secondary, we had batted more passes, and then Derek Stingley had another interception. Derek Stingley's coming along really, really nice these last few weeks. He definitely needs to, because obviously Nick Caserio invested him as a number 1 pick last year. Where a lot of people are already like, oh man, they should have gotten the Sauce Gardner, which I wanted Sauce Gardner too. But let's see how Stingley's gonna be here. He's definitely looking pretty good lately. Number 4, and this is another big one, our offensive line. CJ Stroud was having to run way too much to get out of the pressure, to extend plays, and to make it happen. You know, definitely a better line of holding up the pressure. Let me be honest with you. Our All-Pro left tackle Laramie Tunsil, you got your ass kicked yesterday. Excuse my language. Laramie Tunsil, you got your ass kicked more than a few times. You know, Josh Allen, man, he was a monster yesterday. He had 2.5 sacks, 12 pressures, 8 pressures alone on Tunsil. Shaq Mason had a crucial holding call. Titus Howard came out of the game with the injury. We had to put Juice Scruggs in there to fill in for Titus Howard. But, yeah, definitely the lines, it does make a huge difference. The offensive line and the defensive line, I'm talking about up front on defensive line, they definitely needs to be better. I'm going to say this. We definitely need to invest in an interior defensive lineman. We need a big, ugly, big beast in there to like just disrupt the center and that middle of the offensive line, whoever we're playing. We definitely need an interior defensive lineman. Man, we had one. Remember, not too long ago, we had DJ Reader. That'd have been nice to still have DJ Reader. Should have not let DJ Reader go. But anyways, that's too late for that. So anyways, it is what it is. We've got the Denver Broncos next week at noon. Remember, this is the game that the NFL flexed backwards because originally this was the one game that wasn't 12 o'clock. So now they're making this one of the main games for 12 o'clock. So we need to show out, man. We need to have an impressive performance. Because the Broncos are coming to town and now they've won 5 in a row. We are 2.5 point favorites. That's what the opening line is. The Texans are 2.5 point favorites. But Russell Wilson's definitely looking better. And he's starting to really get it going with Cortland Sutton, his main receiver. I think the Texans should definitely be able to get the running game going against the Broncos. They're toward the bottom as far as their rushing defense. So I think we definitely should get it going against the Broncos with the rushing attack. So, anyways, I'm hoping we can get back on track come Sunday. As far as C.J. Stroud, he broke 2 more records. He passed Justin Herbert with 3,224 yards for the season for the most in NFL history by a rookie in the first 11 games. So over 3,200 yards in his first 11 games as a rookie. Passed up Justin Herbert. The other record he broke, he's the first rookie in NFL history to throw for 300 yards in 4 consecutive games. So that's insane. Like I said, see, we got our quarterback. Yesterday's loss was not all C.J. Stroud. He did not throw a pick. He did not fumble the ball. This was on what I already said, those previous 4 reasons why. The previous 4 reasons why I said no running game, so lack of a running game. You cannot protect C.J. Stroud. You had too much pressure on him. Josh Allen was in that backfield so much. We cannot put pressure on Trevor Lawrence. So, and then obviously the officiating was a factor too. And then like I said, the bad play calling for Bobby Sloyd. Those are all factors. Not to mention the field goal kicker. But I'm not going to put that 58-yarder on Amendola. Because even if we had our main kicker, he probably would not have made that kick. Who knows? So we're going to go around the league. So I was definitely off on my picks this week. Sorry, Thanksgiving, I thought the Lions were going to beat the Packers. I was totally wrong on that. I obviously briefly went on my last video about the Packers going off, beating the Lions. And obviously I already told you about the Cowboys beating the Commanders, and the 49ers took care of business. So basically we left off was Black Friday, right? So the Dolphins beat up the Jets. That was the one where right before halftime, the Jets threw a Hail Mary to make something happen, and then Holland caught it and ran it all the way back for 99 yards for a return touchdown. It was pretty crazy. So the Dolphins won 34, the Jets 13. My Saints unfortunately lost. I was hoping they were going to beat the Falcons. This would have been for the division lead. Unfortunately, the Derek Carr threw a pick six to Jesse Bates going 92 yards. So obviously that factored in the Falcons beating the Saints 24-15. Steelers beat the Bengals 16-10. Najee Harris, the running back for the Steelers, put them ahead. To win the game. You got the Panthers, obviously, who lost another one. The Titans beat the Panthers 17-10. Derrick Henry had a nice game with two touchdowns. The Colts beat the Buccaneers 27-20. Yeah, Gardner Minshew and his main receiver doing some damage. And then Ubicum, I can't say his name. Ubicum forced a fumble late to seal the win for the Colts. So every team in AFC South won except for the Texans. So that kind of sucks. The Giants beat the Patriots barely 10-7. They escaped with the game time kick in the end from the Patriots that missed. The Broncos, who the Texans play next week, they took care of business against the Browns 29-12. The big story right now is Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett came out. He had a shoulder sling after he went back to the locker room. So we don't know how severe that injury is with Myles Garrett, but if he's going to be out for a big period of time, the Browns are in trouble right now. The Broncos, like I said, Russell Wilson's not having like a big passing game, but he's passing for about a couple of 100 yards or so, and he's finding his receivers. He's definitely playing much better. But that defense is definitely playing big right now. They had 3 more takeaways yesterday. The Rams were all over the Cardinals yesterday. They were running wild, with Kyren Williams running wild for 204 yards and 2 touchdowns. Rams 37, Cardinals 14. The Chiefs won 31-17. He connected with Rashee Rice for 8 receptions for 107 yards, especially including that big, beautiful pass to him in the end zone. And then Isaiah Pacheco added 2 touchdowns also. The Eagles and Bills, that was probably the game of the weekend. It might have been the game of the year. Oh, the Eagles barely pulled that game out. I don't even know how they pulled that game out. I thought the Bills had them, but the Eagles pulled it out in overtime to survive another one in this thriller with Jalen Hurts rushing in and scampering into the end zone to seal the deal. Eagles 37, Bills 34. And then last night, Sunday night football, the Ravens 20, LA Chargers 10. Zay Flowers had a nice breakout game with a touchdown catch. Then he ran one in late in the 4th quarter. But that Ravens defense is ferocious. They forced 4 turnovers. So, anyways, yeah, this is basically where the cream rises to the top. If you're not that good, and you might have been in the mix earlier, and you're losing, you're gonna be out of the playoff picture. But if you're playing good, like the Denver Broncos, like the Baltimore Ravens, the 49ers, all them cats. Now, obviously, the big matchup, which I wouldn't even plan on mentioning, is the 49ers and the Eagles. That's gonna be the big game next week. I'm going with the 49ers. I think the Eagles are finally gonna. Eagles are finally gonna not go withstand the 49ers. I think they're the best team right now in the whole league. And like I said, I think Baltimore's up there, but I like the 49ers. College football. Who's ready for some college football? Obviously, we got to talk about the big one, the game. Number 2 against number 3. Michigan against Ohio State. I mean, this game was good as advertised. I mean, I didn't watch all these games, but this game I definitely was. I was gonna watch this game. So it was anybody's game. Uh, Ohio State could have won, but Michigan prevailed with their defense. And then obviously their running attack with Blake Corum. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, and like I said, I think what also didn't help was the Buckeyes quarterback McCord. He threw that interception earlier in that first half. That kind of really helped give Michigan some momentum, but obviously there was still a lot of game left. But yes, the rushing attack and their defense is I mean, I think they could beat anybody. I don't want to give it away, but I got Michigan as number 1 right now. I got them leapfrogging Georgia right now. So now we're gonna go to Georgia real quick. So, well, let me get back to the Big Ten. So Michigan's gonna play Iowa next Saturday in Indy for the Big Ten championship, and Michigan is 23-point favorites. That's insane for a conference championship. And Iowa's not bad of a team, but they're nowhere near level as Michigan. So that's insane. Georgia and Georgia Tech. Georgia's ranked number 1. They held off Georgia Tech. Georgia had a big game from the running back, Kendall Milton. He ran for 156 yards and 2 touchdowns. Obviously, they're still missing their All-American tight end, Brock Bowers, and a few other wide receivers. So Georgia prevailed, but I got them that dropped a spot because Michigan was so good. They looked so good. Obviously, they're going to be playing Alabama in Atlanta Saturday afternoon, and Georgia's going to be 5.5-point favorites. Washington was number 3. They played Washington State. That was another close rivalry game for the Apple Cup. And Washington prevailed on a 42-yard winning field goal. With the help of a solid game from, I'm not going to say his name right, Romy Adunze. He had a good solid game with 7 receptions, 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So Washington prevailed. Obviously, they're going to be playing Oregon. I think they're playing Friday. They're going to be playing in Las Vegas. Oregon, though, is a 9.5-point favorite in that game. Florida State and Florida. Obviously, Florida State was number 4. They're playing a rival Florida. Florida State definitely got their running game going with Benson going for 19 carries for 95 yards. They ran for 3 touchdowns. Obviously, they still got Jordan Travis is still going to be out. So Florida State prevailed 24-15 over Florida. They're going to be playing Louisville in the ACC championship. So Florida State are 2.5-point favorites. So that's going to be pretty much an even. That's pretty much a toss-up. Oregon beat Oregon State 31-7. Bo Nix solidifying himself as a Heisman Trophy finalist for sure. He's been solid all year. He had a big first half with 3 touchdowns, 2 in the air, 1 on the ground. Yeah, I don't know, Washington Huskies. I think Oregon's coming back for vengeance. I think them Ducks are going to be quacking all over you. So, yeah, obviously they're playing, like I said, they're playing Washington and Vegas. And how about them Longhorns, man? Longhorns, Texas 57, Texas Tech Red Raiders, man, they put them guns out, man. Kind of a slow start against the Red Raiders, but, man, Austin was rocking, man. I mean, they dominated the Red Raiders. Once they got rolling, they just dominated the Red Raiders, including that Kalen Robinson 95-yard kickoff return. So they're going to be playing, obviously, Oklahoma State at Jerry's World. Texas is 14.5-point favorites in that game. And I'm going to be honest with you, I picked Texas to sneak in the playoff. Even though they're on the outside looking in, they have been dominating lately. I mean, their only loss was to Oklahoma, and that's not a bad loss because Oklahoma has been pretty solid all year. And Texas could have won that game too. Oh yeah, and Texas won in Tuscaloosa, and I'm not a Longhorns fan. I'm an Aggies fan. But they won in Tuscaloosa against Nick Saban. Obviously, it was before Jalen Milroe got going, right? So, yes, I like the Longhorns. I like them in the playoff. I think they belong in there. I think they're one of the best four teams. And then obviously Alabama and Auburn. Man, I wanted Auburn to beat Bama. I got some friends that are Bama fans. Oh my God, I think Auburn should have had them. Why couldn't they just put more pressure on Jalen Milroe? It was 4th and 31. Why couldn't Hugh have his defense put more pressure on him? They gave him all the time in the world. He was freaking eating a ham and cheese sandwich, drinking a soda pop, whatever, just chilling. And he threw a big touchdown pass to Bond to come from behind, seal the win for Bama. Roll Tide. So Bama won 27, Auburn 24. Next to playing Georgia, of course, in Atlanta. So this is gonna be a fun college football weekend. So, and you remember, H-Town, if you didn't know, not only do we have the regular bowl game, I don't know what it's called now because they keep changing it, but we got the national championship here in Houston. Can you imagine if the Texas Longhorns were in the championship here in Houston? Can you imagine that? That would be freaking sweet. And I would like to see Michigan and Texas. How about that? Michigan Wolverines and Texas Longhorns for the championship. That would be awesome, man. That would be amazing. So, anyways, that's my takes for the Texans Jaguars, all around the whip around the NFL, and then the college football, how everything's looking with the college football landscape, with the games this past weekend, and obviously the big matchups coming up this coming weekend. So anyways, I want to give a shout out to a good friend of mine. I think he's watching right now. I want to give a shout out to my boy Rodson. He's been a good friend of mine for a long time. So I'm not always doing a birthday shout out. Sometimes I'm doing a shout out to good friends of mine or businesses, local businesses, with whatever, give them a plug. But I'm giving a shout out to Rodson, man. He's been a good friend of mine for a long time. If you like really good rock music, I'm talking like really good rock music, yeah. If you're looking for I'm not talking about a good Panoy rock band. I'm talking a good rock band. You need to go check out Soilborn. So that's my hat right there. Soilborn, man. They freaking rock, dude. They freaking rock. I love you, Rod, son. Otherwise I call him son. Anyway, I also want to give a shout out to my boy Jerry. Boy Jerry, he's always been a loyal friend. He's always had my back. He's a big Chiefs fan. Congratulations to your Chiefs. He's got a plumbing company that's doing really good right now. Check them out. The name of the company is Rocket Rooter. They're based out of the Tomball area. If you have a plumbing issue or a drain issue, go look them up. Jerry and his crew will take care of you. Anyways, I appreciate all of you checking me out for another fun show. I know it went kind of long, but there's a lot to talk about. Obviously, that was a big football weekend. I didn't get a chance to talk any Rockets or anything like that. But anyways, again, appreciate all the love. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. I'm getting new subscribers every day. Please like and share. And like I said, thanks again for tuning in to Big 3 and Beyond. And shoot, I'm out, H-Town. Y'all have a good day. Peace.